Hi everyone, it's Adam with Milo's Restoration, and today I've got a video for you about restoring this little mid-century side table I found. It's unbranded, so I didn't really know who made it, but I also wanted to make a new walnut top for it, and I had this piece of walnut laying around, so I figured it would be a good fit. And the first thing that I did was get this cut down to size and get the shape of the template that I was going to use because the glue needed to sit overnight, so I was going to do that first. So you could really get lost in the details here with, grain orientation and all of that stuff. But, this is kind of a budget project, so I just picked what I think worked best, and, I just kind of went with that. The grain is actually going to be running the opposite direction as the table spans. So instead of going along the table base, the longer part, it'll go with the narrower part. So basically, I just got it as flat as I could. I buy all of my lumber already surface and planed, even though I have a planer and a joiner. It's just way more efficient for me to get it done there. And this is just a 4/4 walnut that was cut down to 7/8 on a two-headed planer. And it just gets it nice and flat, nice and smooth. And I really don't even have to use a joiner or anything. So that's one thing nice about buying from a place that has a two-sided planer. So for the top, I sanded down to 240 with my orbital, and then I hand sanded with 240 to avoid those kind of sanding swirls and stuff like that that can show up in the finish. But before I could get sanding on this base, I had to make some repairs. I had this issue with all four of the corners, and I just did these one at a time. I took them out, put new glue on the dowels, put them back in, put the screws back in, and then clamped everything up. It was a really pretty easy repair. So these little brass caps here, I'm just going to pull them off and throw them at Barkeeper's Friend, see what happens. If that doesn't work, I just usually spray paint them, but I always give them a try at polishing first. So for this refinish, a big part of this is going to be knowing what kind of wood you're working with for every refinishing project. And this is some kind of oak, and for that, I'll probably sand down to about medium plus or fine with surf prep. And then after my seal coat, I'll sand with super fine. But I'm not really that worried about sanding swirls because actually with oak, it's less noticeable than with other species. So just a word of precaution, I I really want this to take the stain as well as it will. The walnut is already pretty dark, so it really doesn't need that much. But after sanding, I'll just take a wet rag and I'll raise the grain because I'm using a water-based wood stain. Just a little round over on the walnut tabletop. Just wanted to make sure everything was smooth to the touch. So this is Saman water-based wood stain. I use tap water or bottled water usually. They definitely advise that. And I just mix a little bit of wood stain to whatever proportion of water I think is correct, and I just try to get the color that I'm going for. I usually like to start with dark walnut because it's got the most pigment in it and it looks the best. I haven't really used too many more of their colors. Sometimes I'll kind of mix and match with the water-based Saman stains and just put a little bit of antique walnut and a little bit of dark walnut. But those are the really only colors that I've used, and I've liked them a lot. The grain raising is very minimal with this product. Obviously, the more water you put in it, the more of an issue that's going to be. But if you're raising the grain before you stain anyway, it shouldn't be a problem. So I took those little brass plates out and I just polished them up. They look pretty decent. I'm going to spray paint just the little nail heads that keep them in place. So this is Zinsser Seal Coat, and it's a de-wax shellac that's used as a sealer. It works pretty good. I've been using it for years. I don't find that it sands the best, but I just use it for, like, if I use a water-based stain and then I want to go on top of it with a water-based top coat, that's when I'll use this kind of product. Also, for all the interested people in spraying out there, this is a Fuji T75G with a 1.0 needle, and I'm using a Titan Cap Spray 115 as a turbine. So this is polyacrylic in gloss, and I know, polyacrylic doesn't always get the best rap, but I like it as a finish. It sprays okay. I will tell you that it's definitely not got the best spray characteristics, but it's inexpensive. It sprays better than brushing lacquer in my opinion, and it leaves you with a pretty durable finish, and it's really easy to touch up. So that's why I like it, and it also looks good whenever it's sprayed. Uh, Brushing it obviously can look a little cheesy sometimes, but I think that it looks pretty good whenever you spray it. So any sanding from here on out is going to be with like a surf prep superfine, which is probably somewhere between 4 to 600 grit. Second and final coat of polyacrylic, I'm still using that same Fuji T75 with a 1.0 needle and nozzle set. So just a little helpful piece of information about polyacrylic. It doesn't have great spray characteristics, as I said earlier, and because of that, you will get some runs, things like that, that are kind of unsightly. What I'll do is I'll just take either the pad of my finger or a sponge or something like that that's not going to leave any fibers or anything in the finish, and I'll go ahead and wipe them. Because it can be brushed and rolled, I'll just come back with a foam roller and touch up those areas that caught runs, and it blends in very well. If you try to touch up the areas with a sprayer, you'll get a little bit of a difference in sheen depending on which way you look at it. So I usually just leave touch-ups to a foam roller. So I ended up sanding out those areas where the runs were, touched them up with an artist brush actually, and that was it. Put these little brass plates, and that was all for this project. Thanks for watching. So this was before, and these next two are after. If you want to see more restoration videos, please subscribe.